have in the studio Dr. Tunji ASAOLU, Chairperson, Economic, Social and Cultural Council of the African Union, to speak more on efforts by member states to the African response on COVID-19 pandemic. Glad to have you join us on the news. Dr. ASAOLU.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, now we know that there exists an African Center for Disease Control. What role, has it played so far in helping member states contain the spread of the pandemic?
Yeah, I think the essence of this is the African Union to mobilize all the member states to address this unexpected crisis that we are that we are finding ourselves in the continent at the moment. But you also agree with me that this is not Africa issues alone. It's a global crisis. And of course, it's also good that it's also a global one that is also happening globally, because if you have to be the African alone, the story will have been different, because they will have said that all kind of a thing is what they find in Africa. But thank God, African Union is not also left behind. We have done this thing in the past in case of Ebola crisis, and that is more reason why Africa have to move quickly to address this by coming up with what is called Africa Joint Continental Strategy on the COVID-19 outbreak. And the essence of this, like you said, is to also mobilize resources. And the major objectives of it is to coordinate effort of all member states, the African Union agencies, and of course the United Nations and other partners in ensuring synergy and to also minimize duplications.
Okay, and as part of this synergy you talked about, what economic stimulus, is being put in place to cushion the effect of the pandemic for member states?
The result is what we have been seeing. For example, is what is happening in Nigeria. I think we need to also commend the efforts of Nigeria government so far, because they have moved quickly into this. So we see what is going on in Lagos State, and we also need to also commend the effort of Governors Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and as well as this able team, starts from Professor Akin Fayomi, the Honorable Commissioner for Health. If not because of what they have put in place, the crisis will have been more escalated. You also agree with me with what we're seeing in the margin of how we have, as at the time that they have started in Nigeria, and the same margin to up to now, is what they have also used to also start in Europe, and it was escalated, and a lot of they have recorded a lot of the death crisis. But here in Nigeria, we have moved quickly, and we are on top of the situations. It means that Africa is also working, and we also know what we are also doing. And you also agree with me that the Africa have the experts, we have the resources, we have the market capital resources that can also address this kind of situations. Okay. So we are on top of the situations, and gradually we'll come out of it.
Yes, and Dr. ASAOLU, you know that Nigeria launched a basket fund for COVID-19 response. But in the midst of all of this, what lessons, African countries going to take from this and the world at large, looking at the overwhelming nature of the coronavirus pandemic? Yeah,
I think in the midst of all this, there is a lot of lessons we can also learn from this. I will say from the number one is we need to be sincere to ourselves, and we also need to not to be playing politics with everything. With development. So it also means that we also need to put our house in order to also make sure that we agree and speak with one voice, like the chairperson of the African Union that said that we want all the African member states to speak with one voice. It is where we will agree and we speak with one voice that the continent will not be used as a land where any other continent or any other region can throw the biological weapons. That is one. Then number two, it also means that our leader need to move quickly as a matter of urgency to start implementing all the policies, the program, and the framework of the African Union, for example, the Agenda 2063 and the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, the social policy for social policy framework for Africa. These are all the framework and all the policy that, when it's fully implemented, the member states, and of course, we will not be experiencing the situation that we are experiencing right now. And again, we also need, our leader need to also be encouraged and speak with one voice to also make sure that will reduce the level of dependencies in terms of financial and economic that we put on the Western world. We can stand on our own, for God's sake, and we have a lot of resources, and we have all what it takes to put on our house in order. And again, we also need to encourage homegrown traditional and alternative medicine. We need to fund our homegrown and alternative medicine, not solely depending on the foreign medicine that is also coming from outside the continent. And of course, another thing that I will also tell our leaders is is COVID-19 that we are experiencing now. What's next after COVID-19? The post-COVID-19, I think you also need to also put it to consideration, because a lot of people have also lost their job. So we need to also take this into consideration as well.
I'm sure all the necessary authorities will put all that into consideration. Thank you very much, Dr. Tunji ASAOLU.
You are welcome.
All right.